be assertive. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Communication essentials and communication styles, right? Being assertive, being passive, or being aggressive, those three types. Do you know what type you are? And we're going to explain each of the elements of the communication process, identify the behaviors of people who communicate using the different communication styles. Have examples of open, probing, closed, different types of questions we can ask, and knowing the fundamentals of business writing. So basics of communication. When you're communicating with somebody, do you know what percentage is body language? What percentage is your voice, inflection and tone? And what percentage are the actual words? Do you know? Take a guess. What percentage, when somebody's talking to you, that message, you are receiving that message?
I'd say 78%.
78% body language?
Yeah.
So that only leaves like 22%
Well,
for
yeah.
voice and actual words. How much percentage of the actual words that you are saying coming out of your mouth do you think people are receiving?
5%.
Anybody else? 10? What about you guys? 20, 10 or 20?
10.
10,
Oh, for actual words, maybe 10, yeah.
10? Take a guess.
Like 60.
60%? 60?
6-0 now.
Okay, so then that would leave 40% for body language and
Reflections.
60%. I put 10%, and then I put
7%.
Hey, this is the
And
middle
now
one.
they're listening
This is
to
middle
what
one.
your body's saying, not what your actual words are saying.
So I was pretty much, this is the first, this is body. This is the 10%, which is the actual words.
35%,
30%.
the
Is
voice,
actual
the way
voice.
your voice is
Yeah.
coming out, right? It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And the actual words is 7%. You can tell a baby that does not know any vocabulary words yet.
Googa, gaga.
You can stand next to them or talk to them and tell them, "You are the cutest baby ever. Look at that smile that you have right there." They're not gonna know, but they're gonna start crying. And you can tell a baby, "What a stupid little baby. Look at you. You are so ugly, baby. Oh my God." And that baby's gonna smile his little face off and he's gonna goo and gaw and he's going to interact with you because it's a lot. 35% how you're saying that, and another 58% what your body language is telling people. So imagine you can talk and talk and talk, but if your body language is like this, or the way you're communicating isn't the best way with a good tone, then nobody's gonna listen to you. That's quite shocking.
That's what they say. It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yes, it is. It really, really is. So when we're communicating, the basics of communication, the communication process, we have a sender. And the sender is me having that information, encoding the information, putting it into a communication channel, and then the receiver is going to decode the message that I am sending to them. And then once they decode the message, they're gonna have some feedback for me, and then they're gonna send it over to me, the sender. And that is our message. Our message is circulating when we're conversating with somebody, right? Sometimes, has this ever happened to you? We are encoding a message and we want to say something. And maybe we put it into a phone call or an email or even a message, right? Snail mail. And when it gets here to the receiver, something happens between encoding and decoding that they're not understanding what I am trying to convey. I am trying to convey something, but when it gets here, they're decoding it in a different way. And that's where we have conversation, right? Because now the person is giving you feedback on what they think you are trying to tell them. And then they're coming over here And if you're not hearing that this person understood what you were trying to say, now you're gonna have to explain it over again, right? And we have this process and we have this process going on when we're trying to communicate with people. Anybody ever have any of those experiences? So we need to really, when we're trying to give information, especially as customer service representatives, we need to really make sure that we're encoding our message properly with the facts, with the situation, with everything that we need, so that when it gets over here to the person receiving it, well, they're gonna be able to say, oh, yes, I completely understand you. And that works in our relationships, in any relationship that we have, right? We need to be clear so that the person on the receiving end is understanding what we're saying. And a lot of times with the people we love or with our personal relationships, that's where we start fighting, right?
Yeah.
We start fighting because that's not what I'm saying, but that is what I'm hearing. So now I'm gonna tell you something back, and there we go. So understand your message first. What is your message? Also, who is the receiver? Are you gonna communicate the same way with a 20-year-old as opposed to a 70-year-old? Remember, we talked about the generational differences, right?
Yes, sir.
Even in our personal lives, I don't communicate the same way with my brother as I do with his son, my nephew, right? He's 10, 11. So we do have to also understand who our audience is, who we're sending it to, and how will they perceive what we are trying to say. So all of that has to happen here when we're trying to get our message up to the people that are trying to listen to it. There's also cultural differences. We talked about cultural differences as far as generational differences, right? How are we gonna say something to somebody from a different culture? How are they going to receive it? So all of that goes into encoding the message that we will now send to somebody. And the communication model has all of these different aspects. We have a sender, a receiver, a message, a channel, a shared understanding, and feedback, right? So you have an idea, you're gonna send it off. Javier has an idea to send off to Hernan, he is the receiver. The message is going to have all of these different things, and that's where the percentages come in, right? For the words, we only have what, 7%? Only 7%, but he's going to take into account the gestures of his body language, his personality, the feelings, the attitudes, the tone that he puts into it. He is going to choose a channel of communication, which could be print media or broadcast media. Broadcast media also includes person to person, right? We could do phone calls, maybe we're doing chat, or we're doing face-to-face, person to person. And then we come to a shared understanding. Javier sent the message, Hernan receives it, okay, there's going to be a shared understanding, and the receiver's reaction will be the feedback. Now Javier is going to give Hernan feedback as to what he thinks about his message. He's gonna say, no, Hernan, your words are not 60%. Your words are only 7%. And if you're giving me attitude, well, then that conversation is not gonna, roll off well, because we're going to have issues and people are gonna start getting upset.
Really, Herman?
Now, when we have
He said this conversation's over.
when we have like the example that I shared about the baby, we have, you are so stupid, baby. Look at you. You're so ugly, baby. That is a great example of a mixed message, right? That's a mixed message. Now, with the baby, of course, the baby doesn't understand yet, right? It's a 9-month-old baby. He's not gonna understand the words that are coming out of my mouth, but the adult will. So a mixed message is a single communication that contains two meanings. If I'm telling you nice words in a bad nonverbal way, the nonverbal will be the negative and the verbal is the positive. That is a mixed message. which is going to be the part that I'm going to listen to? The verbal or the nonverbal?
Nonverbal.
The nonverbal. The nonverbal will be the one that I am going to see. That's the part that's going to stand out. So if we're there with the customer and the customer is asking us something, and maybe it's the 20th time that you are answering the same question. Hi, excuse me, where's the restroom? Oh my God, it's over there in the back.
Ay, 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 ay.
Or it's over there in the back. Because we're tired of answering the same question, right? Our nonverbal is going to punch people in the face and they will not listen to anything that we are saying. The words, the actual words will not come across when your nonverbal is blocking that communication. Because that is what it's doing. It's blocking you from communicating effectively with the person that you're trying to communicate with. Right? And I think that, well, actually the book talks about the reason nonverbal is so much more highlighted than our words is because it's tougher to fake the nonverbal than it is to fake the words. Because as humans, we're pretty good at lying. We're pretty good.
Oh
We're
my-
pretty good at speaking what is not true.
Ooh.
But it is very hard to fake the nonverbal.
Ouch.
There was this show, I don't think it's on anymore. I think it was called Liar, Liar, not the movie with Jim Carrey, but it was a show about a guy who knew when somebody was lying because of his nonverbal cues. You know, the twitches, different things that they would do, snap their nails, fix their watch. So this person knew how to pick up on cues from people because the nonverbal is very, very hard to fake because our nonverbal it's unconscious. We're not doing it consciously the way we're talking. When we're trying to lie to somebody, trying to say, well, where were you last night? I was with a friend and then, but we're gonna have telltale signs in our nonverbal communication that is gonna tell people that we're lying. So we're pretty smart and we pick up on those things. So we need to make sure that our nonverbal is in connection with our verbal when we're communicating with customers, right? Even though we're having a bad attitude or we're having a bad day, we need to present ourselves as if we're really interested in helping the person, really interested in assisting them when they're coming to ask for help. So the 3 communication styles, and SpongeBob was trying to be assertive. Which of these communication styles is the one that we should have? Should we be aggressive? Should we be passive? Should we be assertive?
Passive.
You think passive? We should be assertive.
No.
Assertive is a communication style that we want to strive for. We don't want to be aggressive, right? Like Plankton, they're trying to tell him, you know, pencil neck and all that. We don't want to be passive, like SpongeBob when he was sitting there on the bench and the other guy was on top of him. We don't want to do that.
Okay.
We want to be assertive. Assertive is not a negative thing. It is a positive thing. And that's what we want to strive for when we're dealing with customers. We don't want to make it seem like we're upset or we're just, whatever. We want to be assertive. So some of the aggressive, some of these, well, all of these are things that we do when we're being aggressive. So there's lack of respect. We don't respect others. We interrupt others. We feel like we have to win. We humiliate people. We make choices for others. We monopolize the situations. Ever know anybody like that?
Mhm.
Anybody who just takes over and you tell them something, then they turn around and they tell you something else. And then it's always better. To them, their example is always better. They're very close-minded. They disregard rights of others. It's just me, 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 me. That is somebody who's being aggressive. A poor listener. A poor listener. Somebody who takes control, has to win no matter what, insults you. Ever have anybody insult you? When you're fighting with somebody, or when you, in a customer service situation where a customer is really, really upset and insults you? What about sarcasm? Sarcasm is a mixed message. We're trying to communicate with the person, but then we're being sarcastic and we have no respect for them. So being aggressive is a negative thing. We do not want to be aggressive, especially with our customers. We don't want to be interrupted. We don't want to be poor listeners. We don't want to, be disrespectful to them. We want our customers to have a good experience. And if you as a customer service rep are being aggressive, that will not get you anything great. You might have the customer give you a bad review or submit a survey that says you are horrible. And then they're not going to want to come back to our company. Passive. Somebody who's passive, who's indirect, hesitant, who's avoiding. They don't like making waves. They beat around the bush. Anybody ever come across somebody who beats around the bush? Ay, Dios. Get a backbone. They fail to express themselves.
Sneaky.
They ignore. Other people are more important, right? Just like SpongeBob with that guy sitting on him. He wasn't being assertive. He was being passive. Yes, he was saying what he wanted, but he wasn't asserting himself. Now, what Plankton wanted him to do was to be aggressive. And I think being assertive is kind of that middle ground between aggressive and being passive, where we are respecting others, right? We don't want to fight. We're kind of beating around the bush, but from both polar opposites, we have to come a little bit closer to the middle and be assertive people. What are assertive people like? They're active listeners. They have eye contact. They have suitable body language, right? Sometimes we talk with our hands when we're talking to people, which is fine, but we have to watch that we don't judge. We're negotiators. Negotiating skills are very, very important when it comes to dealing with customers, because they might want something, but you might not be allowed to give them that. So you need to assert yourself and negotiate with them and let them know, I can only go up to here. This is what I can do. This is what we can do. They're honest, they're direct. These are great people to talk to. These are great people to get constructive criticism from, assertive people, because they're going to tell you exactly what it is that you're doing in a polite and constructive manner where you, respectful manner, correct, where you can take their opinion to heart and know that this person wants the best for you. So we have to learn to be assertive, right? Not be scared to talk or not be scared to tell our opinion to people, right? Be assertive. And when we're being assertive and communicating with customers, we are going to ask questions. And there's different types of questions that we can ask. Open questions, probing questions, closed questions, alternative choice questions or leading questions, direct questions. So describe the engine noise you are hearing. That is an open question where we want the customer to explain to us more in detail what is going on so that we can fully understand. Now, all of these questions are going to help us as the customer service reps to better assist the person that wants the help. Now, with the internet and with social media, we have reduced the person-to-person communication. And we don't like communicating through voice, right? My son calls me old because I call him to tell him something and he's like, send me a text message. Like, no, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. He's like, oh, that's for old people. So that happens a lot. But when we're dealing with somebody either on the phone, on a chat, or in person, we need to ask questions. The answers to those questions that you are going to ask is gonna help you serve the person better. Asking questions is important for communication. In the communication circle we saw earlier, right? If the receiver doesn't understand what it is that the sender is trying to convey, the receiver can ask questions, right? If the sender sees that the receiver is not decoding the message properly, then the sender can also ask questions. So for example, a direct question, explain to me, Mr. Javier, how this happened. So I am directly telling you a direct question. That's gonna be for you to answer. Alternative choice, you can tell somebody, would you prefer a call or an email? We're giving the person a choice. A closed question, do you want these items delivered? That means yes or no. Yes or no. Probing question, did you purchase the product? When did you purchase the product? How long has this been happening? We're trying to find out more details about what it is that is going on. So we need to make sure that we're asking questions, and we're asking questions in a positive way so that people want to give us the answers, right? Do you want these items delivered? You're giving people options. So questions can help us when communicating with our customers and trying to find out what the heck is going on? What is going on and how can I help you? As customer service reps, make sure that we are asking questions and then we're answering those questions. We're understanding the question, and if we don't, can you please repeat that for me in a different way? We decide whether we know the answer or we don't. We provide correct information all the time. Remember that when somebody asks you a question, you are the expert, but it is okay not to know. I remember sometimes being in the office and somebody came in to ask me a question that I didn't know, can you give me a minute? I will look that up for you. If I didn't understand what the person was saying, then I would try to ask different questions to know, well, they told me to come over here to this building. Sometimes people would come in there and say, okay, what are you trying to get done today? Well, I need to pay for my health fee. Okay, so paying for your health fee would be in the fiscal office. The fiscal office is, and then I would tell them where it is, right? I am taking enough time and not passing the customer around when the customer told me, well, they told me to come over here. Well, I don't know who told you, go back over there, right? I'm trying to ask questions. How can I better serve this person all the while smiling at them and being pleasant? Now, this is like a pet peeve of mine because I have a person in my life who does this constantly and I hate it. Avoid responding with a question. That is the worst. Answer, don't ask. If somebody tells you something, ask you something, I should say, don't respond with a question. If you don't understand, then that's what you say, can you please explain it to me again? I don't understand. But if you're asking a question, it could be anything. I'm gonna go to this restaurant. Why? Why are you going there? So avoid responding with a question. Be direct, right? Be careful with your power. Never belittle customers. You are the content experts. When I go to Starbucks, I don't know anything about the way they make the drinks. I don't know anything about what they put in them. I know what I like and I know what I don't like, but they are the content experts to what it is that I'm trying to purchase, right? So if I ask a question, then they shouldn't seem like, oh my gosh, she doesn't know what goes into this drink. That kind of attitude to have with customers. So we need to be careful with that. And it is safe, it is okay to admit, I don't know, but let's make an effort in finding out, just like the example I gave you. You know, you're coming here to the office. What is that you're trying to do? I'm trying to find out. And if I don't know, I could say, you know, I'm not really sure what office takes care of that, but let me ask somebody. I have a whole team, right? We talked about teamwork that is going to help me figure out the answer. And in the end, we will be able to communicate with the customer and give the customer what it is that we are trying to help them with, or what it is that they need. So which is hard for us? Which do you feel is hard when you, in the experience you've had interacting with somebody? Is asking questions hard? No? Do we think about asking questions, or if we don't know, then if we don't know what they're talking about, then
Out of all those, for me, asking questions, because I would feel on the spot, because I, in my mind, I figure I should know, but
uh-huh.
I don't know. And so to ask a question would make me feel vulnerable. Make me feel
Okay.
less, that I don't, make me feel dumb.
So we need to work on admitting we don't know, right? Admit I don't know, and know that not knowing is okay. Right? Now, if you work at Home Depot and you don't know where the restroom is, I get it. That you should know. You should know little things of that sort, right?
That's why you hang out at.
But there are, somebody comes into Home Depot and says, you know, I need to change the electrical panel and this and that. And of course, maybe you might not know that. But you can probably say, well, let's go over to the electrical department and you might find something that'll help you there. I don't know much about electricity or working with electrical items, but maybe there's somebody there who does. Something of that sort, right? Have not just say, oh, I don't know. Right? Or find the answer. Find the answer, have somebody there who's around you, one of your teammates, help you. And say, it's okay to ask questions, because it is. It's okay to ask questions. And we shouldn't feel like that is something that is bad. So using positive language, how much was the nonverbal? The nonverbal body language was what? How much
70%.
percent? So we should always have positive body language. Positive body language projects a helpful, encouraging feeling rather than a destructive negative one. Negative body language conveys a poor image to customers and may cause conflict and confrontation where none is necessary. What could be an example of negative body language? Frowning, right? Anything else?
I see the 73% now.
He looks at me, he said.
No words needed.
Have you come to a customer and you say, what? That is not good body language, right? That's not good body
That's
language.
good.
Or looking away from somebody while somebody's talking to you. That is also negative body language, right? Maybe we also have some quirks if you're playing with your hair. That kind of seems like, oh my God, rolling your eyes, very good. Rolling your eyes. I have a son who does that.
Oh my God.
I would tell him something, he would roll his eyes. But that's okay. I discovered he got that for me because I roll my eyes.
You look good, you look good.
So we need to be careful when we are speaking, when we're telling somebody something. Be aware of our body language. You know, maybe just stand at a, you know, not super like attention, not stand at attention, but just on a more relaxed mode, you know, kind of have your hands up a little bit, maybe behind you. You're paying attention, you're looking at them, you're having good eye contact. We are not having negative body language because that is what's going to stick out. You are going to make somebody feel a certain way with your negative body language. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna convey the message that you don't want to help that person. And that person's gonna leave upset, more upset than they were because they're trying to get some help. You didn't help them. And then they're going to blame you and say, this person didn't want to help me. Now, you might not have said that, but your body language was telling them that, right? The unconscious body language that we might not think about. So when we talk to somebody and we're conveying messages, you all tell me which is a better way to say something. We regret to inform you that we cannot process your application to register your business name because you have neglected to provide sufficient information for us to do our job. Or, congratulations on your new business. To register your business name, we need some additional information. Please return the attached form.
Wow, big difference.
What is this saying? Tú, you, it was your fault. You did this. You, or in this case, you didn't do this. And now we can't do this because it's your fault, right? Now, yes, the person messed up, of course. But how are we communicating? The 7% of the words, right? Because it was 7% of what people are listening. We need to make sure that they are in a positive manner. Not only our body language is positive, but our words are also positive. In this case, they're trying to register their business. So congratulations on your new business, yay. You know, okay, but now we need this. We need this so that we'll be able to process. So the way we're saying things, right? The way we're saying them. Now our body language is corrected. Our tone of voice is now soothing and soft. We're not being aggressive with anybody. And now our words need to be corrected. So our words need to have a positive spin. Here's another one. So this is the correct one. Here's another one. You neglected to include the bill of sale. We cannot process this for you. If you can send us your bill of sale, we will be happy to complete the process for you. So which one is better? This one. This one is better. If you can, if you can please send us your bill of sale, we will be more than happy to. This one, we are putting the blame on people and we are blaming people for what they didn't do. Now, is this one true?
Yeah.
It is. It is true. And a lot of times, and there's people like that. Well, that's the truth. Well, it's true.
That's my doctor's office.
And it's true. It is true. It is true. The person didn't send it, therefore we cannot finish processing it, right? You did this, therefore this happens. Yes, that is 100% true. But how are we communicating? How are we going to fix it? And if we want to fix something, then we need to have good communication so that it can get fixed. And as customer service representatives, our goal is to help the customer and fix whatever issues that person is having, right? And communicating in a positive way, having our words reinforce the positive. What can we do to fix it? Not point out the mistake. You neglected. That's a harsh word, right? But now here, we will be happy to complete it. Send us the form, right? You have to do something, now send us the form. So we need to be careful also, our body language, yes, our tone of voice, we're smiling, we're being pleasant, but we are also using words that are going to help us achieve our goal of helping the customer. When we're dealing with customers, we can come across sensitive issues, right? Even though we're trying to have positive body language, even though we are smiling, being pleasant, our voice is great, our tone of voice is great, we're using positive words, you can come across customers who are going through rough situations that is going to affect your communication with them. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, but they didn't put two of mine as far as homeless, and they didn't put disabled.
Yeah, these are just some suggestions, right? They're not all of them. There's so many other sensitive issues that customers can be going through. Of course, yes, you know, they lost their home, they lost their car, their house could have burnt down. In my show, their house just burnt down. That's why I remember that one. But these are some things, you know, the death of a loved one, somebody could be going through that and come into your store dealing with this pain and suffering that they're going through, come across you and you're giving them attitude, you're giving them negative body language. What's gonna happen? You will be the punching bag. The person's gonna explode. The person's going to explode and they're just going to vomit all over you. And they will be having a bad customer service experience. So in those cases, it is very important when we see somebody sensitive, when we see somebody's teary-eyed, right? Ever have anybody come in? I have. I've had students come into the office and they either just got done crying or they're crying in front of me, and I did have one student who did say, you know, I'm homeless and I can't pay and this and that, and okay, you know, let's calm down, let's see what we can do. Now, I didn't say let's calm down. Remember, who has to be calm first? We do. The customer service reps have to be calm first. Don't let that shake you. And then you try to calm the person down. If you tell somebody calm down, is it gonna calm them down?
No.
No, it is not gonna calm them down. You know, would you like to come in? Would you like to take a seat? You know, why don't we go into the conference room? Let me get you a cup of water, so that, you know, have you eaten? You know, I have a protein bar here. You're welcome to it. Find ways, right, to calm the person down. And as customer service representatives, we are going to come across people in difficult situations or in having sensitive issues. And a great body language, a great tone of voice, and the positive words that we're gonna use are going to help this person get through their moment of difficulty. Yes, sir.
I found that when a person is expressing themselves like that, it's a lot easier to work with, because I normally would just let them vent and then mirror them and then get them out of that funk that they're in, and then they trust you. And then you can, well, with sales, I'll close the deal. But my thing is this, is that you already know where that person stands at. They gave you enough ammunition. They threw out everything that they were gonna say. Now you can go in and assist them.
Right.
Yeah.
And at least here, I can tell you, when I was there, working in the office, we tend to become a little bit of a counselor type, right? Because you're dealing with these students that are going through tough things. And a lot of times, yes, people just need to vent, right? They go into the conference room and then they tell you everything and this and that, and went through this and I went through that. And once all of that stuff is out, then the person can see clearer a little bit better. Okay, so now.
Thank you. Hey, I'm sorry.
Okay, so now let's complete your goal, right? Whatever your goal was here on campus today, you already got it out. Let's proceed, right? And then the person leaves, the student leaves relieved and feeling a little bit better. And most importantly, she accomplished whatever her goal was, right? I think she was trying to register for classes and didn't have an ID, and it was a mess. So we need to be sensitive when it comes to customers, right? Careful with our body language, careful with our words, careful with our tone of voice, so that when we do come across these things, we can say, I have been trained for this and I am going to excel at this. And all of this also works with writing. When we are trying to communicate in writing, well, of course, body language doesn't matter there, right? Because the person isn't seeing us. But the tone of the email and the positive words that we are doing, right? That we are saying through the email, instead of saying you neglected, right? We can say, please send us this, and we can finish processing. Also, identifying our audience, writing clearly with the purpose in mind, and then using proper tone. Body language doesn't matter there because they're not looking at you, but Anybody ever have an email that the first thing you say is, man, this person's mad? I do. Sometimes people send emails and they're like, are they upset or what? Or, I'm kind of in those links where people are talking to each other and then they're like, okay, this person's mad. So we need to be careful with our tone on written communications, also on our letters, on our emails. Now we communicate a lot through email. I think I get like,
That's challenging.
huh?
That's too much.
Emails?
No, just adding more to you have to deal with other people,
Mhm.
other personalities.
Right?
And then you have emails that you have to address that, like you're
Right.
saying, people's personalities on email. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just complicating things.
Make sure your caps are off, okay? No shouting in emails. Make sure they're off. But I think it's just our own personality translated to paper or translated to typing. What we're trying to say the way we would say it, if you would please send us the invoice, then we can finish processing your application. Let's just say, as opposed to you didn't send us this and you didn't send us that. And I get a lot of that. I get a lot of that sometimes. Like, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. Like, we love pointing at people. And a lot of times maybe that's why we're afraid to ask questions, because we don't want anybody to point at us, right? So just make sure that you're talking to somebody in person, you're transferring over to your written communication. Make sure you're rereading and rereading again. And if it is a super important business writing that you're trying to communicate with somebody, a second pair of eyes is always a great way to make sure that your business writing has great tone and the message is being conveyed clearly. That is something that we can do. We can ask a friend, especially with important documents, right? Resumes. You all ever feel comfortable sharing your resume with somebody? Maybe if you're trying to transfer, you're trying to make your purpose statement, or trying to write an essay for a scholarship, things of that sort, right? A cover letter for a job that you're trying to apply to. Always make sure you have a positive tone. You're conveying your message clearly, and make sure that you're asking somebody to help you with your writing. So that way the other person can give you constructive criticism and you can make it even better. So all of these things, remember, we have to be assertive, not aggressive. Make sure we're not fighting with anybody. Make sure we're not insulting anybody. We're being respectful. We are being clear. We're stating our purpose. We're stating our point. And that way we can have the communication process roll and we can solve whatever issues come across. So thank you all for being here.